Got some super chats. I'm going to get to them here in a second, but let's talk free agent corners because we're digging. We're working the phones, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are saying, what about Maddox, Avonte Maddox? He was cut by the Eagles. He was a byproduct of Jonathan Gannon. Jonathan Gannon got Avonte Maddox paid. They're going to keep an eye on Avonte Maddox. He has missed time, though.
Mm-hmm.
So would I be surprised if he was signed? No, absolutely not. I think you can get him for relatively cheap. But what good does it do if a guy doesn't play? Like, again, I think a theme of this free agency period is talent, yes, good guy, plays a lot of games. The Cardinals are desperate for veterans in their secondary that can help with the development of the guys they took last year and Garrett Williams and company, Keitrell Clark, Starlin Thomas. Watch out for Kenny Moore, the cornerback, pending free agent out of Indianapolis. I get like differing reports. One website said he was 30. I think he's only like 28, 29.
Mm-hmm.
He played some slot for Indianapolis.
Yeah.
How old is he?
Pro Football Focus is saying he's 30.
Okay. So, I mean, ESPN says he's 28. He's an older player.
It says he's 28 on Pro Football Reference as well. So,
okay. Well, no way. Can we get Kenny Moore's birth certificate, please, to be able to sign him? Probably a good idea. Jonathan Gannon,
considering how long he's been in the league, I would imagine 28. If you just look him up, if you Google him, it says he's 28 years old.
Jonathan Gannon had an immense impact on Kenny Moore during their time in Indy, got his best football out of Kenny Moore, got Kenny Moore paid. Kenny Moore can play outside and inside. He played outside for JG. Now, does he need to be regulated to the slot? TBD. He is the perfect player to be able to come in. I would be surprised if they don't at least look at Kenny Moore. So there's a famous tweet that went around the minute Gannon was hired as the defensive coordinator from Indianapolis, where he was a secondary coach. When he went to Philly, it was quote tweeted by Kenny Moore. And he said, they're getting one of my favorite coaches of all time. Man, what a 3-year run we had. One love, with a crying emoji. He's a free agent now. I would be shocked. This is the kind of move that they anticipated telegraphing making. When you think about, okay, we got young players in the secondary. We need some adults in the room. We may not use a high pick on a corner. We need guys that can come in and compete with Debo and Brandon Ayuk and DK Metcalf. Kenny Moore's been a good player in this league for a long time. Again, like, depending on how much they would have to pay, expect them to at least look at Kenny Moore.
He fits everything that they want, right? And it's no shock to anybody because of who kind of helped him sculpt his game at the next level. And it's Jonathan Gannon. He fits, what they say, a guy that plays with violence, a guy that's adaptable, a guy that's smart. And Kenny Moore fits that profile. And I'm wondering if, the secondary becomes more adaptable like that. And what we knew last year was just out of necessity that you had outside guys play outside and inside guys stay inside, where, maybe they'd like, and this is, I know people kind of get a little hesitant because how Steve Keim liked these versatile players, where I honestly believe that Jonathan Gannon and Nick Rawls are more well-equipped to actually coach up those guys. And if you got Kenny Moore and he can come in and he can play outside, but he can bump inside, that's an advantage, right? If you want to kind of be an amoeba type defense and have some positionless players there, but no, a guy can bump outside and he's not going to be a liability. I think that, absolutely. Moore should be at the top of their list. And then you've got, Avonte Maddox, because he was kind of a JG creation in Philadelphia and really helped him take his game to the next level, especially, in the postseason. I think Avonte Maddox also primarily a slot guy. But both of those guys were why Jonathan Gannon views the slot position as a starting position. I mean, it's so important to have a guy out there that can rush, that can cover, that can do so many different things, can be effective in the run game. And it's more than just going out there and covering on an island. So I think that all these guys should be in play. Sure, they should have on their radar somebody that can be an outside corner primarily, but the rest of the defensive secondary, if it's guys that are moving all over the place, I think that plays to their advantage.
People in Indianapolis said Kenny Moore had his best year ever this year for a team that overachieved. A couple interceptions, played all 16 games too. Maddox couldn't do that. Depending on where you get your contract projections, and I haven't even cross-referenced our guy Brad Spielberger, so I'm not sure where he stands on Kenny Moore, but I mean, it's anywhere between like $10 to $13 million a year. But like if Kenny Moore is your number one corner, that's not terrible. If
He's
you
got
get
him at $6.75 million a year. That's a steal for a guy like that.
Oh yeah, like he's making $8 million a year. If he's 30, that's one thing. If he's 28, I think you're gonna have to at least get into the 8 figures. But I mean, Kenny Moore's been living in Indianapolis. I love Indy. I was just there for a week. Come to Arizona. There was not a better feeling than getting on my flight from Indy to Arizona last week, Kenny Moore. I'm sure you'll like it. But it's the kind of move they need to make. And I believe that they will look at Kenny Moore to start free agency, because I think if you get Kenny Moore in the fold and you've got Garrett Williams, you probably just need one more corner, a veteran, and then maybe one in the draft, and that's it. You're probably in pretty good shape.